Welcome to the Astrid Mueller Show. My name is Astrid Mueller. I got well from breast cancer stage 4, and I wrote the book Permission to Sparkle. I'm on a mission to inspire people around the world to what's possible. Today, I'm here with a special Integrative Wellness Leader Talk series where I interview leaders in wellness and we get to discover ideas to support ourselves: body, mind, emotion, spirit, soul. Get ready for an inspiring interview and to discover what's possible. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Talks around Integrative Wellness. I am so happy and grateful to have a very special guest today with us who will be able to inspire you to optimize your health, both from a Western and a holistic perspective. So, Sarah Dawkins, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. I already give you a big wave as I keep
Thank you, Astrid. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you. So you are a holistic health coach now and an author and a podcaster, but also a registered nurse. And you had like 20 years of experience in the medical field, traditional Western medicine. And today you're helping people find and heal the root cause of their symptoms. And you wrote a book called Heal Yourself. You do personal coaching. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and speak with you and your audience.
Thank you. So, our topic on this podcast and show is all around integrative wellness. So, I would love to for you to just fill in any gaps that I forgot to mention, because I know we all have all these stories, and tell us a bit more about yourself and your story. Like, did I forget something important about your wellness expertise and your passion in this field?
Just that I am no longer a registered nurse. I surrendered my license after 20 years because I couldn't honestly fulfill the requirements to be a registered nurse and stay on the register, as well as stepping outside the medical model to heal myself and support others to heal themselves. So I felt it was the right thing to do to surrender my license, give that up totally, so that it freed me of the shackles of working in that medical model to be able to help people to heal themselves.
Wow. That is a really interesting point that you just brought. Can you tell us a little bit more? First of all, where in the world are you located? Because I know there are different paradigms in different countries. So what is your current paradigm at this time in history and your country that did not allow you to fully support people? What was this?
So I'm a Brit in Spain. But I started my coaching in the UK. And when I was first healing, but still a registered nurse, I set up my first website and put on all my own healing of an underactive thyroid. Somebody reported me to my governing body for nursing.
Oh my goodness.
And I got a letter from them. So because of that, and I did more research and started doing a lot more healing, that really caused a dissonance within me, because I always wanted to be a nurse. That was all I ever wanted to be, was a nurse.
Yeah.
But then I'd healed myself and stepped outside of the medical model and wanted to help others to do the same. But there was the real battle in the middle of authenticity. Who actually am I? Because I was always Sarah the nurse. I'd aligned myself with being a nurse rather than who am I myself. So that took me a couple of years to kind of shelve it and then pick it a bit and then shelve it and then pick it a bit more and really unravel it to find out who I was, because a lot of us lose ourselves in our roles, or we've become the person we've become because we want to please others, or we want to be seen in a certain light, or we want to climb the ladder. So we wear all these different personas. And actually, when we strip all of that away, who are we at our core? And that took me a while to understand.
That is really fascinating. And I was just on a podcast yesterday where we talked about the same topic also. That's so interesting. So As you speak about this aspect of your transition and challenges going from a registered nurse to a holistic cancer coach, and you mentioned the identity piece, how would you say this identity piece has impacted your health or benefited your health as you unraveled it?
It's allowed me to be who I am, and once I found out who I was, it's given me permission, if you like, to be who I am at my core and to live within my own morals and values rather than absorbing other people's values and trying to live vicariously, if you like, through them, to be somebody that valued people who liked me. Now
Mm,
I've got to the point where I understand some people don't like me, and I'm
mhm,
okay with that now. Whereas before, being a people pleaser, um,
mhm.
that was a real challenge to step out of that people pleasing and become who I am and know that it will turn some people away from me. And as
Mhm.
I've healed as well, I've kind of outgrown some people that I used to know because
Yep,
they only resonated with the old me. Whereas now this is me. And,
yep.
I dress and act and be who I am at my core. And I
Mhm,
feel that really that authenticity is
mhm.
what I needed to step into.
Wow. So I know like with my own life experience, I went through cancer and I also released emotional limiting paradigms and empowered myself and allowed myself to find my truth and speak my truth and practice that. And I noticed the impact on my health and how that directly um, even feels healthier when we speak our truths and we feel bigger, and I call it sparkling, right? So from your perspective, like how, if you were to talk to your younger self before you knew this connection of so what, right? If you do your be yourself, how did that tangibly impact your health?
Well, the biggest thing was an underactive thyroid. And
Okay.
that does come from not speaking your truth. And it's underactive because it's of the volition that, well, why should I bother? Who's going to listen to me? And
Mhm.
and it kind of it's a slowed down. Well, what's the point? What's the purpose? And that's where an underactive thyroid comes from. And I healed that as part of my understanding who I am and speaking out about the things that matter to me, and who I want to be moving forward, stepping out of who I was to please other people to become who I am now.
I am so excited that we're having this conversation. And I know that there are some people out there who might hear things like this for the first time. So you're mentioning you had a thyroid autoimmune. Was that one of your
Yeah,
autoimmune that you
yeah,
had? So
underactive thyroid.
yes. So can you take people from a Western paradigm view to your holistic view and bridge the gap in understanding? And how did speaking the truth have anything to do with this if somebody has never heard anything like this before?
So how do I do it without going woo? Um, because it's a lot. We're all everything's energy, right? We know that in the world everything is energy, and inside of us we have our own energy centers, and energy flows or energy stagnates. That it's really that simple. And one of our energy centers is here in our throat chakra it's called. And of course, our thyroid is here too. And when
Mhm,
it's blocked, it
mhm,
causes thyroid problems.
mhm,
So, in speaking our truth, in being true to who we are and sharing our authenticity, we allow that energy to reflow again.
beautiful.
And that was part of healing my thyroid. But I also had to do a lot of detoxification. The products I used, the beauty products, the cleaning products, the washing products, they were all off the shelf, full of toxins. So I had to clean all of that up, started making my own, which were much cheaper, and tidy up my life and change some of what I was eating and de-stress a little bit because all of that too feeds into the thyroid, but predominantly it's about that speaking out, releasing that energy.
That is so amazing. I always love when stories like this come to life because I also discovered similar stories when I healed from breast cancer. I also got curious, which must have been one of your requirements to start healing yourself. You became
Yeah.
curious for the root cause, right? What is underneath that? What else is there? Can you share a bit more of your story? When you were still in the Western paradigm and you had your autoimmune disease for years, can you share like what did you try to do and when did it shift for you to look for other things and what happened when you did?
So I was in the medical model for the first 41 years of my life. Raised by a nurse, became a nurse myself. There I was in the medical model with my goggles on, and that's all I could see. None of this outside was there. I could only see this little bit, and it was called the medical model. And I
Mhm,
believe that we need to go to the doctors and have pills to heal.
mhm,
I was challenged about the use of pharmaceuticals at home. So I started researching.
mm.
And I'd suffered from psoriasis and eczema and acid reflux on and off for decades. So,
Wow. Mhm,
and the first things I was looking for healing was in the physical plane because that's all I could think of as a nurse. You know, I need to look at nutrition,
yeah,
hydration, exercise, and sleep. And that's where I started looking because that's all I thought I knew.
yeah.
I stopped eating gluten and dairy. I
Mhm,
started doing some de-stressing, a bit more walking, getting outside in the fresh air.
yeah.
And within about a month, I healed all three straight off. So I've
Oh,
gone from
man.
researching online to now I'm seeing the tangible results in my body.
Oh,
So that pushed me forwards to want to do more. And I
mhm,
went on to heal chronic pain, candida, bulimia, PTSD. But I then started becoming at odds with the medical model. Now I'm doing all this healing work at home and I'm going to hospital and giving out pills and helping people through surgery. So I had a real battle going on in my mind,
yeah.
led me into a deep, dark depression
Mhm.
um, with suicidal thoughts. My
Oh,
thyroid stopped working because I was felt unable to speak out about what I was doing because I was a nurse, and I
mhm,
burned out my adrenals too because of the stress I was under. So I had to work through all of that. I didn't know anything about coaching. I didn't understand support. I was within myself. I couldn't see the help that was being offered through my family. So it took me a long time to work through that. But the doctor wanted to medicate me.
mhm,
Um, and I said, look, I've healed these things already. I don't
mhm,
want medicine because I know I can heal. But with depression, you thinking front brain shuts down, and it's
mhm,
like wading through treacle trying to work out what you're doing and where you're going and what healing looks like. So it was a really slow process. Well, I started to heal a little bit and my brain came back online a little bit more and I started to be able to think a little bit better. So I
mhm,
started doing I didn't realize I was doing it at the time until I looked back, almost a year later, but I realized I was practicing gratitude, being mindful. And I started trying to do bits of meditation, just some guided meditations because I couldn't stop this mind chatter. So
mhm,
the guided meditations helped me to do that. So that's how I stepped into healing the depression with suicidal thoughts at first. And
mhm,
then after a period of about a year, 18 months, my thyroid I healed. My adrenal glands took another couple of years because it's a very slow process. And I believe that was a lot of that was because I was living one life in work and living another life at home.
mhm,
So once I realized I saw the depression as I need to leave the hospital. But
mhm.
inside of having this whole battle, who am I if I'm not a nurse? I only ever wanted to be a nurse. So I was really struggling in that dark place.
Yes.
So I left the hospital and set up as an entrepreneur, but I was still a nurse because I still aligned with that nurse.
Mhm.
And I was no longer giving pills and telling people to have surgery. I did some medical legal work, some DNA work,
Uh-huh.
some training of healthcare staff for all the mandatory updates they have to do to keep their registration or to stay within the hospital. So I started doing that and did that for a few years, and I won awards as an entrepreneur. And I'm like, wow, I've made it. I'm really somebody, I know what I'm talking about. But I was still a nurse and I had to sign that register every year. And I'm like, oh, it's not really what I'm doing. But, I still need that registration to do all of this work in my job as an entrepreneur. And finally I said, enough's enough. I can't do it anymore. I just can't. So I surrendered my license and closed that business down. But I went and did my coach training to help to understand how to help people to help themselves. And it was through my coach training that I put together the 4 pillars of health and healing, because what we need to do to heal, we also need to do to stay healthy. There's no difference. Proactive, reactive, we've still got to cover the same things. So I realized that we need to look at the physical aspects, which is where I started. But then there's also the mental aspects of health and healing, which is we need to give our mind and brain some downtime instead of hustle, 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 crazy stress and everything. The gratitude, mindfulness, meditation helps give that downtime. And then I realized through the meditation, there was a spiritual aspect of it. And what that means essentially is coming back inside of us to that little voice. Now, different people call it different names depending on whether they're religious, spiritual, or just, it's inner wisdom, it's higher self, it's God, the angels, the universe. The name isn't important. What's important is we come back inside ourselves and find that little voice and listen to it. And then it was when I finally did my coach training, I realized the missing piece of the jigsaw was the emotional healing. We have to heal our past. We have to work through those traumas and heal them to be able to offload them, because we're carrying those deep down within us and suppressed. And the emotions from those events spill out into our everyday lives. And we're triggered by certain events because of what we've been through in the past. So when we can acknowledge and forgive and let go, it's not about forgive and forget. The forgiveness is for us to free ourselves of carrying that burden around. And we do it all for ourselves. It's not for the other person. It's simply for us to be able to allow that other person to leave our lives, to step out of our body and let us not carry that weight around. And that is essentially what root cause healing is. It really is about healing that past, to let it go, so we're free to move forwards.
Wow, lots of deep things in there. I love that you found this cornucopia of bigger view of how we can optimize our healing. And I love your story that you literally were able to transform and release so many different health issues. And also kudos to you, to your courage to really let go that past and to embrace this big challenge of identity crisis. Literally, it sounds like, right? Like you had to look at your stories and your emotions around it, and you stayed curious, as I'm assuming that you were able to do that, right?
Yeah. And having the curiosity and looking at life through the eyes of the child with that curiosity helps us to open our mind a bit, because as adults we tend to narrow the world down as our experience and our views change, and then we only see this part of the world and we miss out on all of this. So if we can look at it through the eyes of curiosity, I wonder what would happen if that, I wonder what this is, what could be a different reason or rationale for that.
Yeah.
It helps us to stay curious.
I love that so much. And curiosity is the first magical key in my own book, Permission to Sparkle. It's
Wonderful.
Curiosity and living curiously, which has to do with bravery too, right? Daring to be our kaleidoscopic, unique, even different, colorful selves, right? And then with that curiosity, like you're saying, I love that you use childlike wonderment too. I found that to be a big superpower if we try that on. And it's so funny because as grown-ups, we often devalue it and we think, we don't have time to play. We have to be grown-ups.
Yeah.
But if we remember, there are even some really successful grown-ups, including ourselves, but like really successful ones like Einstein or like the leaders of Google or Steve Jobs, and they're all inventors, or Richard Branson, right? That they're all asking like, what else is possible? How can we innovate? What can we do, right? And to find these answers that we haven't seen, we have to step into new paradigms of looking at, well, what else is possible? How can we do things in ways that we might not have done before, right? So I love that you also
Yeah.
played that game. That is amazing. So I know we only have a limited amount of time, and I want to inspire people with this conversation, but can you give a glimpse of who do you work with today, and what do they come with, like an example, perhaps, like when should people come reach out to you, to Sarah Dawkins, like, hey, I've got this thing. What can we do?
I have two types of people reach out to me. I have people who are well and want to stay well. So
Yeah.
they want to be proactive in their wellness. And I
Mhm.
have people reach out to me when they have become sick and want to get well again. So they're
Yeah.
reacting to their illness, their dis-ease. So I work with both types of people. And it's about helping them to understand what keeps them well and
Mhm.
what's made them sick. And
Yeah.
essentially, it's the same four pillars that we have to incorporate because we are a whole holistic body, mind, and soul. We can't separate it out.
Yeah.
And yet, Western medicine really has. We've got a cardiologist, a pulmonologist, a dermatologist, a
Right.
hepatologist, and everything's separate. But
Yes.
actually, every single part of us reacts or is part of a system with different parts of us. So we have to look at healing as holistic. We have to address the four pillars that I've said, the mind, body, the soul, and look at how every part interacts with every other part of us. And when we can do that, we can heal. And as Charlotte Gerson says, healing is healing. You can't heal two conditions and keep one. When we heal, when we support our body to heal, we can heal. So it's
Mhm.
just about tapping into what it is that our symptoms are speaking to. Why has our symptoms manifested or produced themselves in our bodies? And what are the messages behind those? And that's how I help clients to
Mhm.
find the root cause. What is the message in this symptom that you've got?
Yeah.
And where's that coming from? And often it's something from our subconscious mind. And years ago, in our younger years, there's always an emotional aspect to everything. So if we can dig in and find that and look at it through the eyes of curiosity, but also compassion and unconditional love, and then treat it with love. It's a symptom's not something that we want to get rid of with a pill. It's
Mhm.
something we need to explore and understand and find out why we've produced that symptom and what we need to do to heal it.
Yes. What do you do when somebody comes to you? I guess they might not be coming to you if they're not ready, right? Like it probably takes a certain level of courage, or not being like in super, super deep trauma. I could imagine that some people had like super intense childhood trauma and they might not want to touch it again and not think about it. So then maybe they're not ready to be open and curious, right? Like, is that
Yeah.
something that is a requirement probably, to be able to allow ourselves to be curious? And then you can also work with such stories, or
Yes, yes. And I only work with people who are ready to do whatever it takes
yeah.
to heal themselves. So
Yeah.
I'm not for everybody because there is some deep work involved. And when
Mhm.
people are ready to do that work, as
Mhm.
coaches, we can support them on their own journey so they're not alone. And that I found really challenging when I was healing myself because I didn't know about coaching. So
Mhm.
that my healing took a lot longer than it should have done because I was, just not understanding where I was going. Whereas on working with the coach can support that client in their own healing from
Yes.
their own knowledge and experience.
I love that. So, I got a funny metaphor that I want to bring real quick. It's almost like if we look at our body as a country and we claim our government again, right? So if it was like that, then we would also want to look at all the states of our countries, like, right, how are they interacting and what's going on and what's the bigger picture and what might be underlying issues that our country has, right? And it's so curious to me that Western medicine somehow lost that curiosity and a lot of times has a singular view only at like really particular things. It's interesting. So I love that you're bringing that curiosity in it. And that's also something that people can bring into if they also still go to doctors, right? So you're not exclusive, right? It's like it can be complementary, can be your only thing. What's your take on this? Like, do you have clients who do all kinds of things or?
Absolutely. We're all free to choose, but
Yeah.
we're not free from the consequences of our choices.
Right, exactly.
And from my personal perspective, Western medicine is great for accidents and emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
It's my belief that for everything else, we can heal ourselves outside of Western medicine.
Cool.
But
That's wonderful. Go ahead.
if somebody's belief is that they need to see a doctor and they need a medicine, they will not heal themselves outside of the medical model because their beliefs are tied strongly to the need to see a doctor and take a medicine. So it's about working with people's belief systems as well.
It's so fascinating. So I did both when I healed from cancer. I had like a comprehensive, integrative, holistic, and also Western medicine things. And I also discovered the power of belief. It's really interesting. It's like, yeah, you have to actually feel empowered and choose whatever you're choosing. And when you believe it is serving you, I was able to do both. And it like chemotherapy served me in a certain way, and energy healing served me in a certain way, and Reiki and acupuncture. I had this kaleidoscopic thing, and I also found that if we would have contradictory beliefs or are like totally scared of something or think it will not work, then it can literally shut our body down and not allow it to happen, which is so interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having been here. I see we have your book in the background. Do you want to quickly tell people about your book, what they can expect when they get that, and then where they can find you?
Thank you, Astrid. My book, Heal Yourself, is my own story of all the healing that I've done and 74 others healing. And we've healed things like motor neurone, or ALS as it's called in America, multiple sclerosis, a variety of autoimmune, cancer, Lyme, stroke, allergies, asthma, endometriosis, a whole range of rheumatoid arthritis, absolutely lots and lots of different health problems. These people have all healed them naturally. I have a couple of people who started traditional medicine and then said, no, enough, I'm not doing that anymore, and stepped into natural healing from there. So, but predominantly, the most people have done it all themselves outside of the medical model. My book is in English, Spanish, Dutch, and French. They're all on Amazon worldwide, and the English version is also available in Barnes and Noble in America.
Whoa, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What amazing, inspiring, like this is super impactful and transformational. I love that you have such powerful stories and such powerful tools. So thank you so much for having done that for you, and then also for bringing this to the world in such powerful ways. May it ripple out, and may the right people find it, and may you help a lot of people with your inspirations. I really love it. Thank you so much, Sarah Dawkins. And it's sarah.dawkins.com, right? Where everybody can find you.
It is, yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, everybody, follow the inspirations and ask Sarah anything. You will see on our website how you can connect and what she has offered right now for you. And stay curious and stay well and optimize your wellness by curiosity. And we have so much we can do. I love it. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. Question: what did this spark in you today? Take one baby step and act on it. One small step can change your world and will ripple to others. The world really needs more sparkle. If you like more inspiration like this, come join us in our free Integrative Wellness Oasis on School. We are an amazing community of wellness lovers and professionals where you get to discover new ideas, resources, and also really cool virtual retreats. We love going on virtual cruises too. If you loved this episode, please share it with someone who might love this inspiration as well. Until next time, keep exploring and follow the sparkle.